You're a survivor. You're gonna make it. You will survive and keep on surviving. And that's as true as it is today as it was when Destiny's Child said it way back in 2001. And to prove it, here are some of the toughest games on Xbox Game Pass for you to really test yourself against.
This video is going to take you to some pretty fearsome places, including the depths of the ocean, the wastelands of the nuclear dystopia, and the far reaches of outer space. But the Long Dark might just be set in the most barbarically unforgiving domain of them all, Canada. Stranding you out in the frozen wilderness of the Great White North, The Long Dark is one of the gnarliest survival games on Xbox. Just staying alive out here requires you to keep an eye on so many things. Your body temperature, calorie intake, fatigue, thirst levels, wind chill, and of course the ominous howling sound that seems to be coming from just over the hill. Still, the game's delightful art style means that you'll at least be able to enjoy how adorably polygony its wild creatures are while they're chowing down on your frozen remains. And Xbox Game Pass Ultimate members can enjoy it on both console and PC, so at least you get to choose where to suffer.
If you want to see how you would get on in the event of a zombie apocalypse, State of Decay 2 is a great way to go. Here, the Undead Uprising has been a resounding success, and so your only choice is to learn to live with them, setting up a shelter and scouring the game's open world for materials to help you reinforce it, as well as things like weapons and medicine. The game paints a pretty bleak picture, but it does look a tad less dreary on the Xbox Series X, where you can scurry away from the undead in 4K 60. And at least here you have some friends to help you through it, with up to 3 players able to join you in co-op mode, and the option to recruit many of the other survivors you encounter out in the world. They say a stranger is just a friend you haven't met yet, although that friend may be carrying a baseball bat with your name on it, so tread carefully. There's now even a lethal difficulty setting for when you want to really challenge yourself, filling the game with stronger enemies, fewer resources, and just a whole lot more bad vibes. Manage to stay alive at this level and you'll be well prepared when State of Decay 3 rolls around and you need to survive against this thing.
If it's not one thing, it's another, and rather than undead, Ark Ultimate Survivor Edition has you trying to survive, thus the name, while dinosaurs roam the earth, which predictably is quite challenging, especially as the game gives you pretty much nothing to start with, leaving you to fend for yourself with little more than sticks and stones. Play online and you'll also have to account for other players who are running around, either by forming a tribe with them or encouraging them to keep their distance. Speak softly and carry a big stick is definitely the working philosophy here. It's a tough place to survive, but if you get to grips with it, you should be well prepared by the time Ark 2 hits later this year. And to hear the latest on that and all other major Xbox releases on the way, be sure to subscribe and, ring the bell.
Subnautica takes you to the watery depths of a faraway planet to see how you survive a long way from home. The deeper you dive, the more you'll discover, from handy resources to help you craft new gear, to horrifying monsters that will have you swimming away as fast as your flippers can flip you. The sequel, Subnautica Below Zero, then also lets you explore the frozen northern parts of the planet, which look absolutely stunning in 4K on the Xbox Series X. On this icy terrain, hypothermia is as much of a concern as giant sea monsters, although one of them will make for a much more exciting obituary. For the true survivalist expert, both games have the option of a hardcore difficulty mode, where dying means that the game is totally over. You don't respawn, and your save file is wiped. It's not for the faint of heart, but it can make for one of the most exhilarating, intense experiences you'll find anywhere on Xbox.
You might have braved the zombie hordes and beaten back dinosaurs, but Grounded is a game that's sure to cut you down in size, shrinking you down to the proportions of an insect to see how you fare. Blades of grass now towers overhead, a child's sandbox becomes a vast desert, and just travelling from one end of the garden to another has become a perilous adventure. Worst of all, the whole place is absolutely crawling with all kinds of bugs, determined to make you pay for every fly you ever swatted. It's hard to think of a game that makes you feel more vulnerable than when you're surrounded by monstrous insects in Grounded, with only a flimsy grass wall to protect you. On the upside though, hunting down those horrible insects will provide you with the materials to craft all sorts of useful things. There's even an arachnophobia mode which makes the enemies distinctly less buggy looking so that everybody can enjoy the feeling like they're 2 inches tall. But if that makes you think, oh Sam, that doesn't sound so tough, then let me introduce you to Whoa difficulty, where creature damage is higher, you have to monitor your thirst and hunger more closely, and your items break 25% quicker. Best of luck.
Survival games are more than happy to make you work for the food and water you need to stay alive, but most of them at least give you a free pass on good old-fashioned oxygen. But apparently, Breath Edge didn't get that particular memo. Marooned out in the depths of space, Breathedge has you floating clumsily around the debris left behind by other astronauts. As ever, you're gathering resources and using them to craft better equipment, except here, you're doing it with the constant time pressure of an ever-depleting oxygen supply. No matter how many spare canisters you cram into your inventory, you'll only have 10 or 15 minutes each time you head out. Combine that with tools that steadily fall apart and leaks that spring out nowhere, and Breathedge is one of the most nerve-wracking survival games that has come into our orbit. It's so intense that it might just leave you breathless.
Available on console and PC, Conan Exiles is another game that drops you down pretty much in the scud in a place where you'd rather really not be quite so exposed. The world of Conan the Barbarian is an utterly brutal place, full of scorching deserts and incredibly violent, surprisingly muscular, barbarians. It's another game which totally transforms if you're able to survive long enough. It starts as a bare-bones survival sim where you're just trying to scrounge up enough sticks and stones to hunt some dinner and cobble some form of shelter together. But keep at it and you'll soon be enjoying a bloody action fantasy where you're standing on top of the stone walls of your personal fortress wielding the biggest sword anyone has ever seen. You know, until someone with an even bigger sword comes and slices you in two. There's always a bigger sword. Anyway, Conan Exiles has now been optimised for Xbox Series X and S with a host of visual upgrades, including improved water effects, volumetric lighting, increased resolution, and increased draw distances. So at least next-gen gamers will have a pretty place to get clobbered in.
Another Arctic adventure which is sure to chill you to the bone, Frostpunk asks you to take care of not just a single character, but an entire miserable city. Set in an alternate version of the 19th century, this city-building survival game takes place in the midst of a worldwide volcanic winter. To keep your city from freezing over, you'll have to begin constructing housing, hospitals, and all the other necessities, all the while making sure that you've got enough resources to keep powering the generator at the heart of your city. With so much at stake, you might be tempted to ramp up production by instating 24-hour shifts or legalizing child labor, but this will lead to a pretty unhappy populace and put you on the path towards autocracy. But you won't be cold anymore.
No Man's Sky features over 18 quintillion possible planets for you to travel to, meaning there's always something new to discover, and guess what? A whole lot of it is absolutely deadly. Each planet has its own distinctive ecosystem, so the next place you touch down on might be dangerously hot or hazardously cold. And the atmosphere could be filled with toxic gases, or it could lead to constant storms. And of course, you never know what sort of animals are going to have evolved down there, or whether the planet will be full of robotic sentinels keen to make sure you don't make off with any of its precious resources. In fact, before you've made it to your next destination, you could be set upon by space pirates or rival factions. There are so many ways your epic quest could turn into a tragic misadventure, but that's all part of the joy of exploration. This is made all the more horrifying by flicking survival mode on, as resources are a lot more scarce and enemies are a lot more aggressive. But that's a walk in the park compared to the permadeath mode, which includes all the dangers present in survival, but your progress is completely wiped once you die. I mean, look, it's a pass from me, but do you dare brave the brutal galactic elements knowing any step may well be your last? Let us know if you experimented with the permadeath mode in the comments below, and we're going to read all of them.
Finally, we've got Bethesda's sprawling action RPG Fallout 4. Given that it takes place in an irradiated dystopia full of hulking mutants and vicious bandits, the world of Fallout is a pretty tough place to get by in at the best of times. But turn on survival mode in the fourth game and you're certainly not in for the best of times. As well as giving you harder enemies to face and making you more susceptible to damage, this mode forces you to watch out for fatigue and illness. Ammunition now has a set weight, meaning you'll have less to throw at those powered up bad guys, and forcing your character to carry too much around could see their legs becoming crippled. That status effect won't auto heal either, and there's no fast travel, so if your legs go while you're in the middle of the desert, well, just try not to let that happen. To cap it all off, the only time you can save in survival mode is when your character finds a place to sleep, so there will be no constant reloading to cheese your way through the game here. Thanks to Bethesda joining the Xbox family, you'll find a host of their other titles available on both Xbox and PC Game Pass, including a bunch of Fallout games, ideal if you're looking to spend more time in the wasteland.
Few things get our pulse racing like a desperate struggle of a good survival game, and what we have here are some very good survival games available on Xbox Game Pass. So let us know all your favourite runs and most grisly deaths down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell on your way out. Bye bye!